A great program for you this morning here on For the Record. We talk to the North Central Pennsylvania chapter of Pheasants Forever.
Commonwealth's attorneys and I have concluded that the NCAA sanctions were overreaching and unlawful.
Someone's got to develop a product that you and I as a consumer are going to want to buy.
The country needs a comprehensive energy plan.
Good morning and welcome to WHVL's For the Record. Hope your Sunday morning is off to a great start. We have a great program for you here this morning, and to do that, we are bringing in two experts in the pheasant hunting business. I will say business for Pheasants for Forever, Dick Bodenhorn and Tim Rowan. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
First off, before we get into the great foundation and programs that you guys have to offer, Dick, if you could just tell us a little bit about Pheasants for Forever.
Well, Pheasants Forever is a national organization. It's like a lot of the other Superfund organizations where they raise money for pheasant habitat primarily. Pheasants Forever is mostly a habitat organization that's got a lot of focus toward youth. We're a local chapter here in Pennsylvania. There are a number of chapters in Pennsylvania. We're the North Central Pennsylvania Chapter 630, and we actually got organized back in 1998, and we've been growing ever since.
Tim, a lot of the programs that you guys have to offer, including the foundation hunts that we'll talk about a little bit later, are dedicated to youth. How important is it for youth to be involved so a tradition of pheasant hunting in the state of Pennsylvania continues on?
Well, we feel not only is the youth hunts beneficial to pheasant hunting, but hunting in general. And if you talk to the Game Commission, they will tell you that pheasant hunting and the youth pheasant programs are the leading hunt to involve youth into the sport or introduce youth into the sport. So we feel like our program does a very, very, very good job at that.
Well, I can't necessarily today talk to a conservation officer, but we do have someone on set with a little bit experience in that, just a couple years or so. How important would, say, like a Carl Rowe, say, the former Pennsylvania Game Commission director, what would he say is the importance of these organizations throughout the state?
I'm not sure what he would say, but I know that the Pennsylvania Game Commission spends a lot of time and effort into trying to recruit youth into the hunting programs. Basically hunters have been the leaders in conservation all across the nation since the very first formations of conservation programs. And of course, if you start to lose your hunters, then you lose a lot of your conservation effort. And because really it is hunters that put the most money and the most effort into not only conservation for the species they're hunting, but the species they aren't hunting as well.
I feel like today in the world of political correctness that oftentimes that is lost, especially with President Teddy Roosevelt. He was a great outdoorsman and also one of the leaders of conservation. Tim, would you agree?
I agree, yes.
Now you guys had to trek down here all the way from Ridgeway and Dick. Give a little background story of how basically you ended up here today on the program.
Well, actually, we were at our Pheasants Forever chapter was at the Ridgeway Chainsaw Carvers Rendezvous, set up there on a fundraiser. We raised funds for our youth programs, and we were there selling tickets. And you came by. I'm assuming you were there to do a TV spot on the Carvers, and we got to talking. Sold you a ticket or two, and ended up here as a result. So.
I did purchase a gun ticket. I'm not afraid to say that. Yes, I purchased a gun ticket. I was hoping I would be getting a prize here on the way down, but that turned out not to be the case. Coming up this summer, what events do you guys have planned for up there in North Central Pennsylvania?
Well, we do a lot of things. We do a lot of habitat work. Our chapters put over $500,000 into local habitat work. But mostly we're going to be focused on a lot of youth programs throughout the year. And the first one of those that's going to be coming up is our foundation hunt. That's where we take applications from kids with life-threatening illnesses, serious physical limitations, and we'll select 2 or 3 of those and take their entire family for a weekend to a facility where we pheasant hunt and hunt chucker and fish and do a lot of interesting things.
In addition to that, I mean, actually, our first event, we involved the youth in our work days.
Yes.
And we have a work day coming up. It's going to be scheduled for the first part of May. And what we try to do, we try to involve the youth into those programs. And we feel that teaches them, not only do they get to come out and have the fun things, but if they put a little effort into the environment and into the habitat, so we actually reward them for coming out. We have a gun drawing for the youth that come out and participate. So we try to involve the youth not only in the fun side of hunting, but also in the work side of giving back a little bit.
Tim, when you get involved, just if you could take me back to maybe the first youth event that you guys hosted, how do you see a kid transform from the first time he walks through your door to when maybe, I'll say, the program's completed or the event's completed?
I could probably tell you a story of one little girl that comes to mind, and it's back several years ago, probably 6-7 years ago. Went to the hunt, and what it is, it's a 2-hour event, one-on-one with a handler and a dog, and this little girl comes out, and it happened to be a friend of mine that was guiding her. This guy's a coach, very competitive type guy, so when he came out of the field, I said to him, "How did you do?" And I could tell by his attitude that things weren't right, and after we discussed a little bit, he told me, he says the girl just didn't have a gun that would fit her, you know, and he said she had opportunities, but she didn't have a gun. I called my wife. My wife came with a gun, a hacksaw, a wood saw, and a Phillips screwdriver, and in the field we cut a gun down for that little girl. And through the course of that year, and multiple times of taking her, she had the desire to do it, but she didn't have a whole lot of ability to do it. And she finally harvested her first pheasant. Well, then she was hooked. From that time, that girl has gone from a very inexperienced hunter to now she's 18 years old. She's purchased 2 dogs. She's actually one of our dog handlers, one of our leading dog handlers, and very active in the chapter. The chapter sponsored her to go to a leadership development program. She's enrolled in college this year, and I think she's going to be a leader in the organization.
Tremendous. I have the feeling of suffering through a pheasant hunt, as I was telling these gentlemen off camera. 12 years old, I had a bird laughing at me, 6 shots, still couldn't knock it down. Dad finally had to come over and do it for me. Guys, when we come back, we're going to talk really in detail about the foundation and all the great things you are doing up there. Stay with us. You are watching WHVL's For the Record. Welcome back to WHVL's For the Record, talking with Dick Bodenhorn and Tim Rowan of Pheasants Forever up in north central Pennsylvania. Guys, the youth foundation hunts that you guys put on, tremendous program that you guys offer. Dick, if you could tell us a little bit about it.
Well, what it is, it's a program where we accept applications from youth between the ages, well, we don't have a minimum age, but up to 21 years old. We'll accept applications from kids with terminal illnesses or serious physical limitations. And then we have those sanitized. They don't come directly to us. They go to a foundation where they sanitize them. We get a copy of it that we don't have any names or anything. All we know is a condition. And it has doctor's reports and so on with it. And then we have a committee that will select anywhere from 1 to 3 of those individuals each year, depending on some different factors. And then we take their entire family, you know, the immediate family, to a lodge where they get to spend a weekend doing some very unique things, which include pheasant hunting or other hunting, fishing, geocaching, riding UTVs, shooting trap, just a lot of really neat outdoor activities for the weekend. It's a very good thing for the whole weekend and for the whole family. A lot of these kids come to us, they have some really down outlooks on what their capabilities are going to be. And one of the things that we try to do is to help teach them that some of their limitations maybe aren't as limiting as they think they're going to be.
Tim, what do you see? What do the kids, or I should say young adults, what do they get out of the experience?
Oh, it's just unbelievable. I keep thinking back of our first year, and it was a tough year because we had never done this before, and obviously you're taking a kid with physical limitations into the field, and you're not sure how it's going to work. And in this case, it was 2 girls, both of them spina bifida, and very low self-esteem, very little confidence, and I'll probably get tears in my eyes thinking about it, but the one little girl and I kind of took a shining, and At the end of the event, she walked over, or didn't walk over, obviously wheeled over in a wheelchair, and she reached up and grabbed my hand. And you're looking down at this little girl, you know, and it's hard to see a kid like that. And I had a hard time dealing with people like that. To be honest with you, you know, I was afraid of dealing with people like that. And when she grabbed my hand, she says, you know, she said, all weekend you told me everything's possible, and did you really mean that? And I looked her in the eye and I said, I certainly did. And I says, you know, we're going to make anything you want happen. We're just going to have to figure out how to do it. And she never hesitated, and she says, I want to go spring gobbler hunting. Well, for those that have ever hunted spring gobbler, it's not easy to begin with. And somehow we managed to take that girl out, and she harvested a spring gobbler that year. Since that time, she has killed 3 or 4 gobblers. She's several deer. We were at a fundraiser that she had decided to go with us, and I happened to run into Hunt of a Lifetime. And I walked over to the booth and I said, hey, this little girl would like to go on a moose hunt. Could we sign her up? They said, yeah, sign her up. So I'm standing there filling out the application. When I signed the application, you know, the guy says, well, are you her stepdad or something? I said, no, just a friend. And he's kind of like, you know, can't imagine a friend, you know, why is this going to go? It'll be okay. You know, let her put the application through. And 2 weeks later, she was selected for a moose hunt in Vermont. So she went and harvested a moose. From that time, that girl has turned into a very, very, very confident young lady. So it really does improve their self-esteem in a lot of ways.
Dick, what do the volunteers and you guys, what do you guys get out of it?
Well, I think probably our treasurer said it, and our publicity person probably said it about as well as anything. And her comment was that we set out to change a few lives and soon realized the lives would change to our own. It's just as rewarding for us sometimes as it is these families, because you know, when you watch the situation, and some of these kids know they're dying and their family know they're dying, and you know, when you get to spend some time with them and see how upbeat they can be and their family can be living with the conditions they're living with, it makes it pretty hard to get up in the morning thinking you're having a bad day. So I think it benefits everybody that's involved in it in some capacity or another.
Now, about 5 years that you guys have been hosting the foundation hunts, and about 12 kids have gone through. Am I correct?
That's correct.
How would someone go about applying, and what would the qualifications be for them to be selected?
They have to be under 21 years old. The applications are on our website, and you can get to our website by going to, well, the easiest way for me to explain it probably is just to say, put in North Central Pennsylvania Pheasants Forever, and North Central Pennsylvania Pheasants Forever, and it'll come up on a search engine with our website. Go to our website, and there's a lot of really neat stuff, including pictures and DVDs of some of these events, and also the whole application process is there. But it's important to get the application, get it filled out. There are also doctor's reports that need to come with it, parents' signatures, and so on and so forth. And then they go to a foundation, the Elk County Community Fund, and they sanitize them and forward them on to us, and then we have people that evaluate them and make a selection.
What's the biggest challenge that you have ever faced, where maybe a kid came in and said, I want to do this? You mentioned the spring gobbler, Tim. But what's been the biggest challenge once you're out there?
We had a youth here several years ago, and we require a letter from the youth. And this boy wrote a letter, and while I was reviewing the application, I started to read his letter, and I knew that what his physical limitations were, and he says, all I want to do is be like my dad and brother. The kid had use of his left arm and could move his head, and he wanted to hunt. And we thought, wow, you know, we've taken on a few things, but this is really going to be tough, you know, and especially pheasant hunting. How are we going to make this successful? So we talked amongst the group, and we decided with that youth, instead of putting him with another hunter like we normally would do, 2 families, we decided to have a hunt totally separate for him so that we could concentrate our efforts 100% on him. And in addition to a pheasant hunt, we decided to do a pig hunt, because a pig's a stationary target. Took the boy out in the field pheasant hunting on the first day, and he was very successful with pheasants. So we think, wow, we've got this made. Well, now we go to the shooting range and get him to try to shoot a rifle, find out that he's right eye dominant, his right side's paralyzed. So long story short, in order for him to harvest a pig, it was a 3-man operation. Him sitting on the front of a seat on a UTV mounted on a snowplow, and Dick holding one end of the gun, me holding the other gun for him to finally harvest a pig.
It's definitely a great story. We're going to continue here on WHVL's For the Record, talking with Pheasants Forever. Welcome back to WHVL's For the Record, about to wrap things up with Pheasants Forever. Dick Bodenhorn, Tim Rowan. Guys, thanks for coming down today. Really appreciate it. Great stuff about the foundation hunts and the youth hunts. We talked about the biggest challenges once we're on the hunt. But actually, you guys face challenges, whether it be with membership, actually getting applicants to actually join in so you guys can put on these great events.
Right. One of our biggest challenges has been actually getting applicants. I think in a lot of cases, these youth see hunting as something that they can't do, or maybe that they're not interested in doing. And a lot of parents, I think, are reluctant to encourage the youth to be involved in something they think they might fail at. They're not going to fail. You know, if we get the applications, we'll make it a success for them in some capacity or another. Not everybody is going to be able to hunt, maybe, but we'll find something they can do. So the biggest thing is getting the applications and then getting them in a timely manner. We hope to have them by the 1st of July because in a lot of cases it takes us a lot of work to get things organized for the special needs of the individual. Everything from, lining up medical personnel should there be an emergency, to maybe modifying guns to make them fit the person.
Or building equipment.
Or building special equipment, and we've done that. So getting applications in a timely manner is a big concern.
Tim, Dick brought up maybe mom and dad, guardian, maybe a little bit hesitant. Is there any recruitment process that you guys have that, my little guy, he might be interested in it, this sounds good. How much convincing or prodding do you guys have to do? No, come on down, we're going to make this work.
We've had to do a lot. In fact, Dick and I talked to a young boy last year at a 4th of July celebration that was in a wheelchair, and at first you could tell the parents were very reluctant, and we stood and talked for probably an hour, and then when they walked away, we looked at each other and said, hey, there's an applicant. We've got an applicant. So far, we've not received an application from that youth. And I think it's partially because people, like Dick says, people are protective, and so are we. I mean, the last thing we're going to do is hurt a kid. And the last thing we're going to do is let a kid go out of one of our events unsuccessful. So like Dick says, we'll do whatever it takes to make the event successful.
Another thing, too, is all of our people, we require them to go through the background check, the state police background check, to make sure we don't have anybody with any type of a criminal record or anything that we don't want them involved in. We also require our personnel to go through the Boy Scout training, where it's always, 2 adults. There's never any one-on-one contact. So, we're very cautious about safeguarding those youth. You
mentioned your people and the people that work with you. How does one go about becoming a membership with you guys?
Just go to our website and North Central PA Pheasants Forever, and come to our meetings, monthly meetings. We meet the 3rd Thursday of every month in Ridgeway, 7 o'clock, and we encourage new membership.
We're always looking for new members, and we kind of have a standard thing there where we tell people, okay, your first meeting's free, the next one you're probably going to be put on a committee somewhere.
That's how it always works, and everything. And if once you're in and you miss a meeting, somebody's nominating you for an officership somewhere, right?
We have great people. I mean, we have people that are very committed to the mission of Pheasants Forever and these youth programs. We have people that are more dedicated toward the habitat, and others that are more dedicated toward the youth, and it really makes it work great.
We're fairly small in number when you think about what we do and the events that we pull off. It's unbelievable, that such few people can do such great things, and affect so many people.
Some of those other events that we've talked about a little bit off camera, Wounded Warrior events and veteran events as well.
Yes, we do a pheasant hunt that is one-on-one for 2 hours with a handler and a dog. We take up to 130 kids over 2 Saturdays in the pheasant season. And we organize the dog handlers, and at that event we give away guns to the kids. One of the things that kind of sets us apart from the normal hunts is that we require every participant to come to a safety day. And it's a Sunday afternoon, usually 2 weeks prior to the hunt. And we do a little bit of instruction, demonstrate the difference between a pointing dog and a flushing dog, and then they can shoot trap until their arm falls off, and we'll supply all the shells to do that. After that event, we typically move on to our veterans hunt, and we do that in conjunction with the National Wild Turkey Federation. And that event is usually 2 or 3 hunters per dog. And last year we had about 80 veterans show up the day after Veterans Day. Now this year I'm not sure if we're going to have it the day before or the day after Veterans Day, but it'll be somewhere in that time frame. And in addition to that hunt, we do a hunt in conjunction with the Brady's Bend American Legion, where we take wounded warriors, and they're at the same lodge that we do the foundation hunt for an entire weekend. And that's a very satisfying hunt. It's fantastic. And we keep mentioning this lodge, and I think that we need to say that the lodge is donated by Rosebud Mining, Cliff Forst. Fantastic individual, and quite honestly, without Cliff's support, we couldn't do a lot of what we do.
Tim, you read my mind. I did want to ask, where do all these hunts take place? Because they are such great events, and we know the Allegheny National Forest up there is beautiful, but you actually have that specific place in mind.
Well, yes, and this lodge that's owned by Rosebud Mining has been tremendous for us. The unfortunate thing is a couple weeks ago it burned. So right now we're kind of looking at other options. I feel certain that they're going to rebuild, but we may be kind of scrambling around this year and looking for another facility. So that's something that is kind of on the front of our minds right now. In fact, we discussed that some on the way down here. So.
Is there anything that the viewers could reach out to maybe help you guys maybe get something going this year with that difficulty?
Anybody that has an applicant in mind, anybody that has a funding source in mind to help fund it, anybody that wants to get more involved in it, we're willing to entertain them. And all of our information's on that website. They can get on our website. They can find our phone numbers, our email addresses, and anybody wants to call one of us, we're more than happy to talk to them.
Tim, really appreciate you guys and Dick coming down. Really appreciate it. And thanks for recruiting me to make me aware of this great program. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much for watching at home WHVL's For the Record. Make sure you check out Pheasants Forever.